Banshees of Inisherin. So I am Pops. Let me give you a review. This film is going to have some legs during the award season. Obviously, some Golden Globe Awards was just announced. Just did a video on that. There's been other critic awards. Obviously, we're headed towards the Oscars. The Banshees is going to be a name. It's going to be back in theaters if it drops away. It'll be something that's going to have some buzz at some nominations in different categories. So I wanted to give you a review on whether or not I think you'd like it or not, or what about it you may or like, or if it'd be a good film for you. So um, obviously, this is a different kind of film than what you might hear. People love to call this a dark comedy, a tragic comedy, those kinds of things, and not stick with it as the drama that it is with comedic elements. It has a very British sort of this is a Martin McDonagh film, right? So you have sort of like a Richard Curtis approach to comedy, not necessarily traditional, laughs, right? So the comedy is interwoven into the nuance of the performances and things like that. Which, by the way, that is by far the strongest part of this film. Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell, even Barry Keoghan, who played George in Dunkirk. He was in the Eternals as well, and the sister. Anyway, Carrie Condon. Obviously, Colin Farrell would be considered for a nomination. Brendan Gleeson would. The other guy gets a lot of love from folks. I mean, I'm kind of impressed, but there's very little screen time to warrant some of the hoopla about the performance. But this is a very strange take, and I'm not sure that my take on this is going to do it justice in some ways. So these two guys, imagine drinking buddies in Ireland in the 1920s. There's a civil war going on. And one day, Brendan Gleeson's character on the right, Colm basically tells Patrick on the left, Colin Farrell's Patrick, I don't like you anymore. I don't want to be around you anymore. It's a friend breakup movie, right? It's a friend breakup. Now, if this has been a relationship and it turned this volatile and violent, then the film would be completely different. But it's a friend thing. It's like, I just don't like you anymore. And what is interesting about the angle of what Colm's motivation is basically like, there's no point of hanging out with you anymore. You're dragging me down where I want to be a musician. I want to make music. I want to do something that will be part of my legacy beyond when I'm gone. And you're just kind of dull. I mean, sure, you're nice, but all I do is you just suck time out of my life, right? And that's the premise of this. And Hedrick is really having a hard time with this. It just keeps getting worse and worse. He even talks to the priest at one point, which makes situations even worse. And basically, he just will not let it go. He will just not let this friendship die. He will not allow for this to just be this abrupt separation. And the sister is involved a lot, and this other friend, Dominic, who's played by Barry Keoghan. He's kind of like, so everything sits place on this fictional Irish island. So everything's very isolated. Everyone knows each other. The gossip situation doesn't go over. And actually, there's a lady who handles the mail in the store, and she's in charge of all the gossip. She just calls it the news, basically. And everything centers around this community, these two fellas. That the other guy doesn't want you around anymore. But there's really, where are you going to go? You're on an island, right? Anyway, it creates so much conflict. This guy, but Colm gets so frustrated that he likes music. He's trying to move on doing that. Anyway, the Patrick guy will not let it go. Colin Farrell's character will not let it go. Colm says, I'm going to cut a finger off and give it to you every time you come bother me again. So I tell you what, it is the dialogue that drives everything, right? And there's even when Patrick is trying to be consulted by other people giving advice, they usually insult him in some way. Like, oh yeah, you're nice. Am I dull? You're nice. There's a lady. She's like the old lady kind of wandering around, and she's kind of like this foreteller of things. It's kind of a weird role, but he's kind of, anyway, it's breaking Patrick. He's getting worse. Patrick's becoming rude to other people. He's being mean. And Dominic even kind of like teases, like, you should just do it. I want to see him cut a finger off. Like Dominic's kind of got a sadistic side. He's not nearly as dim-witted as they think he is. He has the hots for the sister, and he comes across more as creepy and stuff than anything else. And anyway, it goes along, and obviously Patrick can't help himself, right? And ultimately, the finger gets cut off, thrown on the door, and you're just like, what on earth is going on in this relationship, right? It's completely chaotic. Patrick just keeps getting in a darker and darker place, more and more depressed. And you think about like relationships breaking up and like the person that just cannot move on and cannot let go. Imagine just having to be trapped near that person and how hard it is. And you know, we've all gone through that. And there are phases where, but at some point you have to pick yourself and move on. The thing is, it's just a friendship thing. It's not an actual relationship thing. So it plays for kind of an awkwardness and Colm's selfishness of like, well, I want to just do my thing. It's like, but you have time to do your thing and time to be with this friend. It's such a weird premise that he couldn't balance both. Like it's such an extreme thing. And his reaction is, I'm going to cut a finger off. Like, are you mental? And actually, it's funny because in the movie they don't use the F word; they use the word fecking. And it's like there's great lines, especially from the sister, like the effing definition of fecking mental is cutting your fingers off. Anyway, so anyway, that's kind of how it goes along. Patrick has got this pet donkey, which is kind of like the star of this film. This little mini donkey. Her name is Jenny. I assume because she's a Jenny. And he has her in the house like a dog. The sister gets mad. So this donkey's there as well. There's sort of like this awkward humor that plays throughout the film, right? Anyway, thump at the door, fingers gone. Colm acts like nothing ever happened in some ways. So like the dog's looking on his hand or whatever. Patrick wants to go back over there. The sister's like, are you out of your flipping mind? Dude just cut his finger off. So the film moves along and kind of plods along at times with all of this. Like it is a great film in the execution of film. Acting, cinematography is great. The score is great. All of this is fine. The dialogue, the personalities, the characters, all of that's fine. But at the end of the day, it is also this sort of like drab, dreary drama with dark comedy and tragedy, right? So it's not a film that necessarily has the mass appeals that you think it would. But like, so for instance, there's the scene where Patrick's not going to let it go. Patrick's going to keep going, right? Colm has brought in a student to help with this musical process to finish this song. The name of the song is the title of the movie, The Banshees of the Inisherin. Well, once this fight breaks out, you know that the next step would be Colm would cut his fingers off. The dog in the scene picks the shears up and takes them outside. Like the dog somehow knows. It plays for a laugh. Doesn't make sense that a dog would know that, but it plays for a good laugh. And whenever a dude cuts his fingers off, he walks right past Patrick and the sister like nothing ever happened. It's just like there's just nubs on this hand. The film does get like Fargo crazy in that way, but not like outlandish. Just like this is what happens. And then because when it turns sideways is the sister's other backstory. She kind of wants to move on with her life too, but it involves getting off the island. It's going to leave Patrick home alone. And he has these pets, these animals that he loves. Well, the donkey that he loves so much tried to eat these fingers. Anyway, Patrick finds this donkey dead, and that's what snaps. He breaks. He threatens to burn down Colm's house with him inside. He's not going to let this go. It's just completely insane and becomes insane. And the dark tragedy doesn't leave any character out. So Dominic, who's this dim-witted friend that's kind of played for some laughs and cheekiness, and you know they're out drinking. They come in, and the dad's passed out naked right there. Dude's like completely butt naked, right? But he flirts with the sister. The dad had been abusing him. You have all these different elements that play out in this thing, and it's all very dark. It's all real, and it feels very heavy for all of that, which is what you want, right? because when the sister leaves, he's just got nothing left. Like it's all falling apart so rapidly, and it comes up and it culminates just like you would expect with more disaster, more dismay, more chaos, more sadness, and then at the end, there's sort of like Colm wasn't really in the house, and they had this scene on the beach, and you're like, well, it's not really over because you're still alive, basically. Well, I'm sorry. Well, and he says, I don't effing care, but he actually says it that time. And I'm like, whoa. And then he says, so they start to leave. And then he says to Colm tells him, so, well, thanks for looking after the dog. He's like, yeah, anytime. It's such a weird, awkward thing that's kind of being a picture of life to deal with separation and what friendship is and your priorities in life and your time and relationships and tragedy and all. It deals with so much, and it is so much like the stereotypical Oscar type film that would be something everyone would like. It is also something like I don't know that I would ever watch it again, right? And I don't know that the performances warrant. I mean, Brendan Gleeson's performance is the best performance in my opinion. I mean, Colin Farrell's fine, but I've seen this from Colin Farrell before. Like the Dominic kid and the sister, and yeah, they're all fine. Everyone is very suitable. Like everything is very, very good. Like the secondary characters, the priest and the doctor. I mean, the cop, and everyone's fine. It's all serviceable, right? Cinematography, score, all of these different things. So this film could end up with a whole bunch of nominations, be a huge buzz, but it's not a film for everyone. It's also not a weird political film or agenda film or anything like that. It's just a heavy drama, tragic, dark kind of film. So anyway, that's the thing. Maybe you think I'm crazy, because this is a very high ranking score. Like if I had to give a score, it's at least an 8. It's very high, very strong, closer to a 9, right? But it's also a film. Like I said, not sure I'd sit through it again. Like, yeah, okay, I've seen it. It's good, but I'm not gonna watch it again. Like it's just too dark, and it doesn't offer anything that I enjoy in the entertainment sphere. It's more of like the appreciation of the art and the media and all that kind of thing. So that's my take on it. Maybe you guys think I'm crazy. You guys tell me. I'm sure you will.